Greetings, leopard artists in the 2nd and 3rd grade. It is time, as our travels have taken us to India with Felix, it is time to conduct some weaving. Now, our weaving efforts got interrupted greatly last spring, as my 1st and 2nd graders barely got started or didn't get started at all. So we're gonna start with a project that is a little more basic so we can get some weaving skills down or review them from quite a while ago. And then this spring, we'll attempt something a little more challenging as far as weaving goes towards the end of the school year. So each grade level, 2nd and 3rd, is conducting a weaving project called a woven turtle. This turtle is inspired by the 5 turtles that are native to India, and those sea turtles are described and in pictures underneath this video. So when you're watching this in Canvas, you're gonna have to scroll a great deal to see the finished project example and the 5 sea turtles that could be found off the shores of India as their native sea turtles. With that sea turtle knowledge, we're gonna use something called wrap and stretch weaving, and we're gonna use craft sticks as our loom. I'm gonna turn the camera so it's gonna have that earthquake look where things look a little woggly for a moment. So have patience and forgive me while I get this lined up in a way you can see it best so that you can then do your best when it comes to weaving your turtle. So I'm gonna turn the camera, and once I've done so, I'm gonna make sure that I have things within camera range for you to see at your very best. Every 2nd and 3rd grader will get a weaving kit, and as it is in a gallon Ziploc bag, so we can prevent so much contact on our projects by storing them in one big bag together, everyone has their own weaving kit. You're gonna put your name on with Sharpie first thing. So I am still Mrs. Billman. And I'm gonna put my Sharpie in the bucket. Or if you're at home learning, you're gonna put your Sharpie away because you don't need it anymore until the very end of the project. So when that's dry, I'm gonna take my kit, I'm gonna remove my loom. The loom is sort of star-shaped or snowflake-shaped, and I'm gonna notice that my loom has already been glued together for me if I'm in person. If you are 100% virtual, I used hot glue to create this loom. A loom is something upon which we weave. So a loom can be made of plastic, paper, or wood. Some looms are as big as a table for weaving carpets and blankets, and some looms are very small for weaving small pieces of jewelry. This one I would not say is medium size, but it's not the tiniest loom I've seen either. When I hot glued my wooden loom sticks, I made sure that I had an X with one stick laying on top. Where my fingers are now, those become the 4 feet of my turtle. This will become his head, and of course, this will become his tail. To get started, I'm going to take my green yarn, and you will have much prettier green yarn. Mine is solid green. Yours is variegated. That means it has different types of green in one string of yarn. I thought this would be much easier than changing yarn colors to get different green effects on our turtle. So you are going to simply tie this in a knot to your star-shaped loom. You can tie it to one of the legs, you can tie it right around the middle. It's really up to the artist. When you tie in a knot, you do this by starting the same way you tie your shoes, and you repeat it. Tying is something that device use, like iPads and phones, has suffered. Most people don't know how to tie well. So you may have to practice getting a knot tied more than once. You may even need an adult to help you, but please try. We all need to know how to tie knots and our shoes. I don't prefer the tail from my knot to stick out while I'm weaving. It actually gets in my way, so you probably noticed I trimmed that, and I'll just put that small piece in the trash can. So wrap and stretch weaving is exactly like the way it sounds. I'm going to take my yarn closest to the loom. I'm not going to take the end of my big piece of yarn. I'm going to take the yarn closest to the loom, and I'm going to go wrap and stretch. I'm going to have to turn my loom because my own hand is in my way. Wrap around, stretch to the next one. 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 You will become an expert in no time. At first, it's hard to see progress, especially with the yarn we're using is fairly skinny. Wrap around, stretch to the next one. But after a few rounds, usually 3 or 4, all the way around your turtle, of wrapping and stretching, wrapping and stretching, wrapping and stretching, you're going to start to see his shell form. Now, in the art room, if you prefer one type of turtle as opposed to another, I am going to give you the option to add a bit of another color to your turtle shell. For instance, when you see the example of the loggerhead turtle, it's got a bit of a yellow tone to part of his shell. I will have pieces of yellow available if you'd like to add a bit of yellow to your turtle, showing us that it is a loggerhead, and so on with the other types. When you are finished, there's not really a certain way or a fancy way to tie the end of your yarn off. You just do it in a way that your turtle doesn't come apart. So I want you to watch the screen carefully. I'm going to go from the turtle I'm working on to my finished project. So here is my progress so far of wrapping and stretching. I'm going to move that. And here is my finished turtle. Face, claws on his little feet, and of course this empty is his tail. You can see a bit of white where I added just a touch of that to his shell to make him look like a certain type of sea turtle. I used Sharpie to create his claw marks and his eyes and his mouth. Please remember, if you put his mouth here, that means it's on the top of the back of his head. He would be looking this way, so his eyes would be above his mouth, crawling this way, likely towards the water. So, once you get started, you will see progress quickly after 3 or 4 rounds of weaving. Yes, it can be frustrating at first, like anything else that's new. Once you get going, you will be pleasantly surprised at what a great artist you are and how quickly you progress through creating your turtle. This type of weaving will set you up for future weaving projects like basket weaving and radial or round weaving in 4th grade. Weaving is something that every single culture to which Felix travels, we would find weaving in any culture. All cultures needed weaving to create objects they needed, like blankets, carpets, and clothing. And pretty soon, weaving became an accidental art because not only was it useful, but the colors used and the patterns created were accidentally artistically beautiful. And that's what brings us to weaving things like turtles today. So when your India sea turtle is complete, you're gonna take a picture and submit to Canvas, and then I can grade it. Some people are gonna get weaving wild. You're gonna get very good at this very fast, and that might be the case. So I do have extra craft sticks available. And at home, 100% virtual workers. If you don't have green craft sticks, or you don't have any more, after you pick up your kit for weaving in the office, you can always paint regular craft sticks. You can color them with a Sharpie so that they don't bleed or rub off on your fingers. You can also use regular sticks from the yard. I would have an adult help you glue those. If you don't have hot glue, you can use regular glue for your craft sticks if you are a 100% virtual working at home artist. You just need to let it dry overnight before you begin your weaving. Happy weaving, leopards.